Welcome back to the continuing adventures of the monad. 2 presentations ago, the visual representation of a monad's evolution through the 4th kingdom of nature was presented as 3 dots, representing humanity's lower nature. A circle with a horizontal bar representing an aspirant, the same circle with a vertical bar representing a disciple, and finally, an empty circle representing an initiate. The circle with the vertical line is indicating the presence of the Antahkarana. These lines, vertical and horizontal, have another manifestation in Christian culture in the form of the cross. The 3 threads that go to make up the Antahkarana can also be represented as the vertical axis of the cross. The horizontal arm of the cross is then seen as the creative expression in material existence. Humanity, in this manner, is represented as a cross. This diagram represents the 3 stages of a monad's evolution through the 4th kingdom and into the 5th kingdom of nature. 3 crosses are presented, but it is from the fixed cross that the monad builds the Antahkarana and takes the I-4. The cross can now also be represented as a vertical line. This is the true crucifixion, and the vertical line reaches from heaven to hell. The future task of the disciple, from the 4th to the 7th initiation, is to resolve the line into a circle and complete its evolution through the cosmic physical kingdom. It would be safe to say that there are very few monads incarnate today that are 3rd root races, where their life thread, focused totally on the physical plane, is the dominant factor. As mentioned previously, the single largest grouping of humanity is still developing through the 4th root race objectives, which are to develop the emotional body, utilizing the 3 centers found on the first triad. Uniting the 3 strands of the creative thread is the prelude to going from the horizontal to the vertical, merging the persona with the soul, so that the monad can make an appearance in physical form. When this happens, the emotional body is no longer needed. The atomic permanent atom 48-1 remains, but the molecular levels no longer hold any attraction for the monad. The emotional body is seen for what it is, an illusion. When the focus of the monad moves into the 46th envelope, when it becomes a second self, the emotional envelope just fades away. In the same manner, when the Antahkarana is built, the permanent mental molecule 47-4 is superseded by the 47-1 permanent atom. The mental envelope coalesces into one unit, and the lower mental envelope is then seen as the fiction it always was. At this point, the monad has 3 points of anchorage. The first is humanity itself. A second self does not need to go through the birth process, but can create what is known as the Maya Virupa. Maya means illusion, and Virupa being a body. This the monad synthesizes out of atomic matter to fulfill its purposes on earth. The monad can be said to be exercising all the energies of the mutable cross. The second anchor is the hierarchy. Here, the monad exists as a focused unit of unity consciousness 46. The monad seeks to find its place and mode of service conditioned by the ray that the monad functions on. All the energies of the fixed cross are expressed by the monad. The highest anchor is found in Shambhala. This is where all higher initiates are aiming. They are moving towards the source of the Sutratma, The initiate works with all the aspects of the Antahkarana to further their work, but are still crucified on a cross. This time it is the cardinal cross. It can be seen here that the rainbow bridge is not just a structure to cross one gap. The first is the gap between the mutable and the fixed cross. Another gap that is bridged is also between humanity and the hierarchy. Then there is the linking of the lower triplicity, the persona and the spirit. Last but not least, the monad is bridging the gap between itself on its own plane and the outer objective world. This is done through the process of intention, visualization, projection, invocation and evocation, stabilization, and finally resurrection. These stages need to be looked at in greater detail. Before we start, it is worth pointing out that the way that is being described to construct the Antahkarana is a relatively new process. Those monads who were under training were given this information, but it was not known exoterically. The whole process of construction is one of the use of energy. There are no magic pills you can take or spells that can be cast to achieve this. We are dealing here with a process lodged in creative imagination. When energy and creative imagination are brought together in the form of energy substance and planned impulse, you start the creative process. We all live in a world of various forms of energy. Some are dynamic, positive energies, others are receptive, negative energies. There are also magnetic or attractive forces. H.P. Blavatsky said that matter is spirit at its lowest point. We should not get this saying mixed up with one that says that all there is in existence is energy. This is not what is being said. It just means that what we deem to be spirit is just matter vibrating at a higher frequency. If you combine negative and positive energies, they produce a magnetic force. For magnet, you could substitute consciousness. This is the creative process. What is being described here is not unique to us as humanity. It is the same process that drives the creative processes of the solar logos and the planetary logos. It may come as no surprise to you that they are consciousness creators as well, just like we have the potential to be. What, therefore, is the disciple trying to do? They are trying to form a constructive relationship between the monad and the human expression in the three worlds of human evolution found on the first triad. When we talk about creative expression, we usually focus on the life of the soul and its expression on the physical plane. The kingdom of the soul, the second triad, must eventually give way to the rule of the spirit found on the third triad. In a similar manner, the energy of the hierarchy must become a force receptive to the energy of Shambhala. This is mirrored in the need for the forces of humanity on the first triad to become receptive to the forces of the soul on the second triad. These processes at the differing levels of consciousness are going on simultaneously. What is of interest is what energies we are receptive to and when. The hierarchy is only just becoming receptive to the second-ray energies emanating from Shambhala. Prior to this, the hierarchy was mainly receptive to the creative third-ray energy from the planetary government. In the very distant future, the hierarchy will become receptive to the first-ray energy emanating from this source. This is mentioned here to point out that all levels of monadic consciousness are continually undergoing evolution, and what is possible creatively is determined by flows of energies that emanate from higher sources. Back to us at a more mundane level. although operating at an expanded level of consciousness. The triple nature of divine manifestation must express itself as a duality. We have alluded to this in our discussion of the imagery of the 3 dots and the circle. This is achieved when an initiate, after taking the I3, must learn to function as a duality, not a triplicity. What is meant here? The monad, defined as spirit, and form, defined as matter, must connect directly with no intermediary. To get the meaning of what is being said, look at our diagram of the triad. There are 3 levels. The first level is defined as matter, the second as consciousness, and the third as spirit. To function as a duality, the mediating factor of the soul or second triad must be absorbed equally into the other 2 aspects. When this is complete, the true nature of nirvana becomes comprehensible. This is the beginning of the endless way, which leads to the One. This is the way that resolves duality into unity. This is the path that the hierarchy is seeking to tread, and for which they are preparing. And you thought we had challenges. Getting back to humanity, the path to duality is achieved through building the Antahkarana, and this is consciously undertaken only when the disciple is preparing for the second initiation I2. We have talked briefly in previous presentations about the role of white magic. This is a creative process, and the role of a disciple is to become a creative actor in the process of conscious evolution of the whole of humanity. Let us talk about this conscious creative process in the next presentation. Thank you.